Well, good morning to the Flint, Genesee County community. I would like to welcome you to our FY 2023 NOFO, our first office hours, or we call it, also referred to it as technical assistance. Today, and I'm Tracy Hurd, I am the Vice President of Community Development. Today, we're going to really address the fundamentals of the NOFO. So just bear with me. If you have questions, this is the time. Please put your name and your organization in the chat. We will greatly appreciate that. So we're going to get right into it. We have one scheduled for the 1st, the 10th, the 16th, and the 23rd. I'll take you over the timelines. At the end, I'll have Aaron bring that up. So what is the NOFO? So the NOFO is really, it's a notice of funding. I'm not going to read this, but I can tell you it is where HUD puts out to 400 plus COCs that they are ready to receive applications for funding for homelessness. It is a yearly open application. In this, it is up to you. If you are going to submit an application, you have to read all of the instructions. Erica and I read through the HUD 105 pages several times between now and when it's due. We send it to you. You should read, make sure that you're reading. We will, of course, give a high-level overview in these NOFO meetings. I want to stress, too, that the HUD funding is highly competitive. It is not a assurance that you're going to get the funding that you've gotten in the past. It is highly competitive. They're looking at your narrative. They're looking at, are you in line with their initiatives, with their programming? How is the quality of the applicants that you are submitting the application for? So I just want to make sure that it is not because we've gotten 1.7, 1.8, 2.1, 2.3, 2.5, we had to compete. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that. And failure to respond accurately can result in losing funding. So that's why we don't take anything for granted. We've done this. Well, this will be my fifth year. And every year I approach it with the same tenacity, me and my team, the same new look, because we don't want to miss anything. So I wanted to share that. And then the mission of our CLC, a community working together to achieve access to safe and affordable housing for all residents of Genesee County. So HUD every year releases a NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity, which says, hey, 404 COCs, we're ready to take applications. Here's the NOFO basic. I just stated it is a yearly nationwide competition. Funding is absolutely not guaranteed. I can tell you when me and my team submit that button on September 28th, I'm literally holding my breath until the end of March 2024, because anything can happen. We do our best, and so we are literally holding our breath till we get the awards. So every year that you're competing, the FY stands for fiscal year 2023. So that fiscal year opened July 5th and it closes September 28th. So as you see here, the application is due to HUD September 28th by 8 p.m. Collaborative applicants, and Metro is a collaborative applicant. There are 400 of us 400 plus across the country. We are the only agencies that can submit on behalf of a community. There are some nuances and there are some special circumstances when, HUD will give another option, but in large part, only collaborative applicants can. It is a consolidated application. There are two parts, and you have to make sure that you're submitting two. We involve the community in all of these parts. The priority listing is the programming, and the narrative is the structure, the governance structure, how we conduct business to make sure the programmings go forth. So that's the NOFO basics. I want you to take a look at, and this is really important to our existing agencies. There's always changes from one year to the next. So one of the first things that Eric and I do, we go to that page that says what's different, because if you could miss points, and your points matter if you continue to just do what you did the previous year. So HUD is for COC planning, and that should be 500,000. I put 50,000, sorry, but I'm sorry, 1.5 million. So HUD is increasing the COC planning dollars. So typically HUD looks at the potential of projects that you could have, and they would give us 3%, which was about 138,000 for COC planning dollars. Now they've upped it to 5%. So we as a continuum could ask for about 150,000. So that was one change. They went from 3% to 5%. They've also added 2 new eligible activities directly to the budget line items. Now, this is something that our current agencies understand. So you either have 1, 2, or 3 budget line items. It's going to be some kind of housing, rapid rehousing, PSH. You have, or leasing. Those would be leasing. You're going to have supportive service, and you're going to have admin. So they've added 2 more budget line items. VAWA, which there's some budget line items for those that would be particularly geared toward YWC if they wanted to add some budget line items to address VAWA education or however they want to use it. The other one I didn't put on here, it was for rural communities. And this amendment to criteria for qualifying as homeless, that should be its own point. We're going to HUD change the definition of homelessness as it relates to those experiencing domestic violence or stalking or those kind of issues. That's why I put it there. It's only related to VAWA and those that are experiencing domestic violence or stalking or those things. So it is in the NOFO announcement that went out July 5th. If you want to know more about that, you can read that. So those are the major changes from FY22 to 2023. I want to take you through HUD's missions, goals, and priorities. I'm not going to read this to you, but I do want you to pay attention to the last 2, the white area. They are increased equity that you've heard our community talk about, our equity, trying to make our who runs the program, how we run them, really look like the community that is engaging in the services. And so we know that the minority, and particularly Black or African Americans, have a higher need in engage in homelessness services more. So HUD's overarching is everything you do should have a component to equity. So every answer, we should somehow bring in how we're going to address this huge inequity. And the second one is improve customer service. And so that is more of an internal to HUD. As I studied, this is something that they want to do, but as a continuum, we want to also look at ways that we can improve the experience of those that are engaging in our homeless response system. So those are HUD's overarching mission, goal, and overarching priority. So when we approach the narrative piece, of the NOFO, we are going to be integrating equity and those that are experiencing, that have lived experience. Those are very important to HUD and are important to our community. So here are their 4 strategic goals. They have 6, but 4 of them HUD put in the NOFO are relevant to the FY 2023 NOFO. Support underserved communities, ensure access and increase the production of affordable housing, promote home ownership, and advance sustainable communities. So again, when we are crafting the narrative, we're going to be integrating these HUD strategic goals into what we are doing in our community. We're going to position them, what we're doing in these 4 areas. There's 3 pillars. And I think this is new this year. 3 pillars and 3 solutions. So the pillars are equity, data, and evidence. The solutions are housing and supports, crisis response, and prevention. And again, the narrative will integrate all of these things in our responses to the questions that they ask in the narrative. So that's about HUD and their priorities, their foundations, their pillars, and their priorities. Now let's get to the local competition. So here's how the dollars break out. In our community, we have 14 programs. As it relates to the NOFO, they're called renewals. ARA, annual revenue, oh my goodness, I can't remember ARA. That is how much each program typically is awarded that previous year, or was awarded that previous year. ARD, annual revenue demand, is what the entire 14 programs were awarded in 2022. So our ARD, or 2021, there's some complexities that I won't go into now, but our ARD is 2.3 million, not including our COC planning, which would be 2.5. ARD is specifically around programming. It does not include COC programming. In renewals, you have 2 options to GHS, GCYC, Shelter Flint. You have 2 options. You can expand, ask for more money, or you can consolidate. There's only one agency that is applicable for consolidation, that was Shelter Flint, and we actually did that in FY 2022. Expansion, I'm going to talk to you about how expansion happens. We'll get to that. So there's renewals, and then there are new projects. This is for you guys who are on the call now and you are thinking about maybe we can bring a program to the table that meets the strategy and the priorities of the community as well as a HUD. There's 280,000 available for new projects. For those agencies that are new and are interested in submitting a project, there are HUD thresholds and there are COC thresholds. So HUD is the national level, and then our COC is the micro level, Genesee County. I did submit those in the email. You will see an attachment called thresholds. You have to make sure that you meet those thresholds before you submit an application. Let me tell you why we check it. Because if we don't check it, HUD is going to check it, and then we have the opportunity to lose an application if we move you forward and you haven't met those thresholds. So just so you know, 280,000 is available for that. Domestic violence, for those of you that would like to offer a housing program for domestic violence, there is an allocation left for 561,000. So for programming, so we got 3 ways how we participate in this national competition. Renewals, just because you've had a program for 13 years doesn't mean you're going to get it. You have to compete. With those renewals, you can expand. Then there's new projects. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my nose. You have 280,000. And when we think of new projects, you want to think of housing projects, COCCE. That's the only thing that's open in this particular NOFO for SSO projects. That means supportive services only is only the CE component. We have 280,000 and DV is 561. That's all that we can submit application for. I want to talk to you about reallocation. HUD loves reallocation. So if you are an agency and you are saying we want to expand, fine, the community will vote on that. But my ask of you is to look at your portfolio of programs and decide if there's a program that you want to reallocate that money. We'll take that, put it in a big pot. HUD is more likely to fund a new program if you've reallocated some funds. So think through that. Trust me, we're going to talk about this more and more, probably at every one of these. So think about if you see, and I'm running the numbers now, if you see that over a 5-year period, this particular program, you're leaving $10,000 on the table, you may want to offer that as a reallocation. HUD really puts value on reallocation, just so you know. And here are the components that are applicable for FY 2023. The components change every year. So PSH is typically every year. THRRH and SSO varies. For this year, it's only to improve coordinated entry, or it's only for additional to add to our coordinated entry. That's the only SSO, supportive services only program to offer. In our local competition, there is a ranking process. We rank renewals, expansion, and new projects all at the same time. I will take you through that. I'm waiting for HUD to launch their rating and ranking Excel project so that we can put all of our projects in that. So we look at system performance measures. We look at previous spending. We look at thresholds. We look at monitoring findings. We look at all of that. We put it in one place. There's a rating and a ranking that occurs that are algorithms in the Excel that we use from HUD. So that's coming. I'll explain that as we get that in. We submitted a timeline for the community. Make sure that you are looking at that timeline because there's 2 key dates that, let me see if I have it, that I want you to pay attention to, and they are in red on your timeline. The intent to apply. Let's say you're sitting here and you want to, you think you want to apply. Then get your intent to apply. You can always retract that and intent to apply. But if you're thinking you meet the thresholds, you have a program that could really elevate our experience to our clients, then you want to submit your intent to apply Friday, August 11th by 8. If you intend to apply, I would say submit it. And as you get further into it, if you believe, oh, I think we bit off more than we can chew, you can always retract it. But if you have not submitted it by August 11th, you cannot move forward. It is at 8 o'clock. If you get it to us, date stamped at 8:01, you will not be able to participate in local competition. The deadline of the project applications, that's all of the renewals and the new, those are due August 28th at 8 p.m. Oh, I think I hope I corrected it because on my copy it says 11:59, but I think I corrected it to 8 p.m. If you did not get it submitted and it's all time stamped through our email, then we can't move you forward. So I wanted to make sure those two dates. And then the third key date is Wednesday, September 6th. We will take the community through the prioritization process. It's about 2.5 hours, depending on the conversation, depending on if there's new projects. If it's existing projects, it might be 1.5 hours. But if there's new projects, that's going to extend it probably to 2.5 hours, just so you know. That is the fundamentals of the NOFO competition. What questions? The floor is open. What questions might you have? What discussion might you have? And then we're having our next one is the 10th. I am always available. Erica is always available. You can contact either of us and we will answer your questions, provide clarity, set up a one-on-one meeting, whatever you need to feel comfortable. So the floor is open.
Hi, Kelsey. Hi, Roger. Oh, I'm well. How about yourself?
Questions or comments?
Good.
Hey, Janae, you're not muted.
Somebody's not muted.
Morning already, right?
Aaron, can you mute JAT? Okay, thank you. Okay, Brianna, did you have a question?
Yeah, in part, this might be a really stupid question, so pardon my ignorance, but I just want to make sure. So theoretically, because you said there's HUD thresholds and there's COC thresholds. And I did see that you sent those out. Thank you for the info. That was helpful. So HUD could approve a program or a project. And then theoretically, not that this necessarily would happen, but theoretically the COC could kind of override that decision?
No. So when we submit to HUD, we vetted everything. So when we move our priority listing forward, that means as a community, we've agreed these are the programs that we believe will bring the best services to our clients that are experiencing homelessness. So we've already agreed these are the programs we want. So
that's the meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're correct. That's the prioritization meeting.
That's the September 6th meeting, but that's after the applications are due, but they wouldn't have been awarded at that point. Okay, gotcha.
Right. So if you're not meeting both thresholds, then you would not be moved forward to the prioritization, and you will be alerted of all of that.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking the question. And there's no wrong question. No, ask the question, because if you're thinking it, there's other people who want to ask it too. So I appreciate you.
Of course, thanks.
Any other questions? Any other comments? I'm not hearing from the renewal agencies. You guys good? You have any comments, any questions? Shelley, I know you had a question. I don't know if Shelley's on here. Shelley Hoffman. I'm assuming if you had additional questions, you would ask because you are vocal. Any questions, any comments? Okay. Let me look in the chat and see if there's any questions there. I tend to forget about the chat. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Okay. All right, Bill, thank you. We will send out the slides. Oh, Barb, thank you. Okay. What we'll do is we're going to send out the slides. We're also going to send out this presentation so that we will always have it. You can always refer back to it. And all of our NOFOs will be recorded and the slides will accompany them. So the next one is going to be probably more in the details of the projects, I'm assuming. Typically, that second one is a little bit more into the programming. I want to thank you all for joining the FY 2023 NOFO office hours. Again, you can reach out to Erica or I, and we will answer your questions and provide clarity on anything that wasn't clear for you. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Aaron, you can stop the recording.